Master Grade Wing Gundam Zero.
Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs, 2Bs, GundamReviews.net. And it's time today for me to wrap up my look at the Master Grade Gundam Proto Zero there. I always have to forget the Proto. You've seen the poses in the MS, and now it's time to take a look at the transformation into Neo Bird mode and see if that stacks up to the high standard that's already been set by this fantastic MGMS. And now it's time to see it all with some final thoughts as a verdict. Now some of the parts are going to seem really familiar here, getting these white parts up out of the way, and then the old head, which we're going to try to forget about as he gets transformed, is going to get rotated around 180, as is his legs. The shoulders are on a slider, which so far it's come out of position a couple times when he's in MS mode, but you can see that it's got a nice little click position there. And then they're going to be coming down. You'll want to get rid of these trigger fingers and actually put in the fists. And if you saw the parts part here, you're going to take this leg, you can see that that'll come up, and then it's time to rotate the foot around and slide that up inside and get the toes down here, as this is all going to seal up relatively well. If you pop the hips out here, then you should be able to bend this part up and down, and that's going to bring this part here, which is going to be just touching the edge of the skirts, it looks like. You can then take the wings here, open them up like this, and then make sure that that arm goes in, and then they bend in at a 90 degrees, so they're going to get flat up against the body here. And with the now exposed white flap down here, you can bring the whole thing up before you're going to angle this into an out position. And I love that this lock mechanism here is going to be popping out, and when you go for that, you can bring this part down and then try to get it lined up in just the right direction. Things are starting to take shape here, and then it's time to put that lock back into place, and something definitely needs to be covered up here. With this handy-dandy Captain America-esque shield here, well, far from it, but you pop this part out and you'll hear a nice sound, and once you do that, you can get that down into position here, and then grab one of these and the whole thing's going to open up. And then underneath you can take this cover and you'll see that it's going to be moving in an interesting direction, and this is going to be part of our hiding mechanism. As if you saw earlier, the grip that's going to hold this onto the stand does a very good job in there. I'm hoping the shield is going to do the same thing, as this is going to get put on top and then the head bent up into it. As you can try that and then put the cover down, which is actually going to do a half decent job here. Although that's some pretty colorful chest there, at least you're not just going to be seeing a head staring down as we've seen with some other Gundams in the past. The twins here are going to get separated, and then once you've done that, you can get rid of these parts, and you'll want to get these out on the sides so that they're ready to be attached on. And I'm hoping that the V-fin's not going to get in the way here, but you'll see right in the shield that these are going to plug in and hopefully stay neatly attached. And things are definitely taking shape here. And now it's time for the last piece of the puzzle, is these two D pieces go together like this, and then they're going to get attached onto the stand like this. And that's encouraging at the beginning, but I don't think I want to test it too much. Definitely not flipping it over here. And well, I've got to say that it's looking incredibly flat there. The legs are still going to be looking like legs, and I'm a little bit disappointed that these twin busters, you'd think they could have found a way to clip them into two places just to add some additional stability there to the shield. But for the most part, it's imperfect, as many transformations for Gundams are, but it's still a darn sight better than the old one there. The shield and the colors are absolutely popping. The green, you can see those teeny tiny wings over there. The addition of these nice little white details over there, you can see some extra thrusters and the white stripes kind of thing back there, and all those little indents there in the wing. It just comes across as being the kind of thing, I don't know if I'd want a second one just to show off the transformation, but I'm sure there are some people who have a nice collection, and in terms of interesting looking bird slash MA slash jet slash wave rider modes, this guy, he's not bad. And here is a rotating view from the top. You can see that the legs have sagged down just a little bit there, and you do have the freedom to adjust these wings here at whatever angle you sort of want them shooting out at. But overall, again, it's really not all that bad, and the transformation is the kind of thing that it wasn't very frustrating to get it there, so you may actually be inclined to try it out occasionally.
And I fixed the legs up once with their sagging there, but what are you going to be seeing from underneath? Well, hopefully not the same kind of thing that Shin Asuka's sister saw. But you are going to see some details there in the chest, although the jewel and everything, you are going to see a bit of the jewel, but that ab cruncher there that's holding the waist and the waist section and the abs together is going to be doing okay. One nice little thing, if you can make it out there, is that in the back of the feet, you're going to have thrusters and the gray details that do such a good job there of actually looking good when you open up the wings in MS mode, especially compared to the old school one, are going to be doing a good job of looking at least filled in from below. And then all the other details, the head is pretty well hidden and it's actually leaned in there quite well. And the details with the shield and the busters, again, just having those yellow colors in there, and the colors provided by plastic, not seals. Albeit, do you miss the old shiny gold? I don't necessarily. This is the way that I expected it and hoped it would be.
For some final thoughts, the verdict, as it were. Well, let's start with the negatives. The first one, I think, for a lot of people is just going to be the whole Proto aspect of this. It is Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, and all of a sudden they introduced the feathers, and then they introduced the early type all those years ago at the original movie, and then we're getting kits of that, and then they've got to go and shoehorn this one into the Endless Waltz universe instead of just calling it what it is, which is an anime version of the Master Grade that we all watched for half a season and everybody likes. Now, at the same time, some of the changes that they made are definitely not for the worse. I really like the overall stylings, the small head for Epion and things like this. They've definitely grown on me, the extra little tiny details all around. It screams Katoki Hajime as it should, although not necessarily the Wing Zero. But then again, he's got his hands all over the Endless, or all over the Gundam Wing line and the Endless Waltz. And you know what? If they do give us an anime one or not in the future, this may be as close as it gets. And for me, so far, it's rock solid with only a few negatives. A lot of them due to the problems just with the transformations. The legs, they're going to be a little bit tricky there as they can split occasionally. The hips are going to have to make sure that they're lined up. You're not going to have the crazy moving hips that we've seen on things like the MGs from Seed Destiny. And the shoulders, occasionally, you're going to go for a pose and instead they're just going to sort of fall off and down into position. You're always going to have to be aware of that yellow or the white piece and the booster there on the shoulders as well so that you can get them out of the way, especially if you're trying to straight arm and take one of the busters straight across the body there. The manipulators are not going to please some people as we're used to the 3-finger trigger finger split for these bigger kits. In fact, you can see, as you might be able to make it out here, that the old guy even has a 3-finger trigger finger split. And it's the kind of thing where if Bandai's going to be cheating and taking these smaller kits from the mid-90s and stretching them out with Katoki Hajime proportions and their long legs and things like that, well, you'd think that they could actually go ahead and put in proper manipulators. But it's the kind of thing that if you haven't figured it out by now, the Endless Waltz kits are all doing that. And so you're going to be loving it or hating it, but at least you're not going to be surprised when you see it here. For the transformation itself, yeah, the legs are going to be a little bit wonky, and that waist is going to be dangling occasionally. It comes with the stand, and the stand is fantastic, and when you've got it there, yeah, it's going to be great, except the legs are just not necessarily going to cooperate. If there was some sort of a better lock mechanism to keep it in there, that would be impressive. But outside of a few problems, you saw that the twin buster is going to drag down one hand if it's not posed properly, and just a few of the flimsy parts, like the way the shield is going to be attached, and the problematic with the wing binders, the way they open and close. You're going to have to be careful, maybe keep a set of tweezers around just to reattach the connection occasionally, but otherwise, the positives for this guy are through the roof. First of all, well, what is it? It's a Master Grade Wing Zero. Forget the Proto. This is as good as it may ever get. And from the very beginning, when you crack it open, the attention to details, the colors, the plates, everything there, from the clear green parts and the big beam sabers that are oversized, that fit in the shoulders, and you can just have some great melee poses. Say what you will about the 4 fingers, but they do a great job of holding the weapons, both the twin buster out like that, and the beam sabers in hand. You're not going to have any issues. And they just do such a good job of matching the jewel on the chest. And yes, we've lost the chrome gold that you may be able to see on the old school guy, but you know what? We've made up for that with the bright yellow-orange that's overall are all around this kit. And the little details. Remember lining that guy for hours and hours? Well, and keeping them for years and years? Well, this guy, you hardly need to put on any lining whatsoever. I put some attention into the shoulders and on the waist section. That probably could have been done a little bit better in plastic. As we've gotten to see with things like the 3.0, my goodness, the things they've done there with the multi-shades. However, with this one, just a little bit of effort, it's going to be looking good. The green seals are popping, and the little things like the light piping through the head. There's just an incredible amount of detail, a lot of which are even going to get just covered up with seals. And I hope you do it with a little bit better than I do. And don't go losing your parts for your twin busters. But if you saw the poses from my video before, ultimately that's what this guy's all about. You put one gun in hand and the shield, fantastic. The beams in hand, fantastic. Shield and beams, great. But when you put them two out, and if you have a rotating base, a solar-powered one, battery-powered one, and even if you don't, just getting the legs in the right position and the two guns out as he just puts his head down and gets angry is the kind of destructive force that we all knew and loved from Hero Yui, whether this is Endless Waltz universe or not. And it just recreates it oh so well. And for the buster, or for the bunker busting, when you put the two guns together there, the grips, the wings, the feet out, the boosters underneath on the heels, or the soles of the feet, just every detail is in there. And you know what? It's the kind of thing that I could honestly see some people buying multiple copies of this to have him displayed in as many ways as possible. The old Master Grade Wing Gundam, incredible, but this guy, even more so, part of because it is Wing Zero, and just the twin busters and how much they got right, including the transformation, which for the most part is positive, easy, fun, and is going to be looking fairly attractive. And with the base just being there to hold him up in the air in both of his forms, I do not see how you can go wrong with this kit. Overwhelmingly positive verdict. So the question, I suppose, is where do we go from here for the Master Grade Wing line, for the Master Grade Endless Waltz in particular, and how about for the Wing Zero? Well, yes, thank you, Build Fighters, for a high grade 1/144th, but at the same time, will we ever get an anime version of this? Will we be getting the anime versions of Endless Waltz for the kits that we've seen since Death Scythe? Anyway, there's lots to speculate about, and lots that's tantalizing ahead of us. But for me, just to get another lead Gundam in proper Master Grade form, and this guy is going to be retired, probably safely, but it's just so much fun to have this guy around now as the Master Grade that I could not be any happier, and I hope you've enjoyed this kit as much as I am. Anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for watching and sticking around, and there'll be lots more news, reviews, and everything else you can use. See you, everybody. Maybe I should go get a Hero Yui. And there were sighs of relief all around.